Hi, everyone. This is Pat Salber, and I'm the creator of the Beyond the Cast program and app. That's the title of my submission for the Healthy Bone Challenge. This is my team video, but I also created another video, which I called Understanding the Program and the App, and that's been uploaded as a part of my submission. It's actually pretty crucial because it explains how the program works and it takes you through the functioning of the app, which is a key part of the program. In this video, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what was my motivation to get involved in the challenge, a little bit about uh, how I proceeded to develop the challenge, including my interactions with the great coaches that you provided, and I'll finish up by telling you some stories of some of the very interesting women that I met along the way. So let's get started. I myself am a person who sustained an osteoporotic or fragility fracture in 2016. And I actually got great care for my fracture. I was taken to the ER that I used to work in, had a friend who was my emergency physician and another friend who was my radiologist, and that all went very smoothly. And then I was sent home with some paperwork in a sling, not really prepared for what was going to happen when I got home. I mean, I I got home and I figured out I couldn't even get my clothes off because of the pain. These are things that they don't actually prepare you for and are actually a part of the fracture journey. After that, I did have a visit with an orthopod who said, "Oh yeah, just stay in the sling. That's we'll have you there for so many weeks, and then you'll come back and you'll be all done." But in fact, that wasn't the end of the story. I ended up having to have a number of physical therapy appointments and, in fact, continue my physical therapy on my own for many, many months in order to get back my full range of motion. Again, that's not something people tell you about. And then I realized that it wasn't normal for me to have tripped over my own left foot at the airport. That's how I fell. I didn't trip on something, I tripped on my foot. So as a physician, I started worrying, well, maybe I have foot drop, or maybe I have muscle weakness or nerve damage. So I asked for a workup. It wasn't offered. I had to ask for it. And luckily, I get my care at Kaiser Permanente, and they gave me all the tests that I felt I needed in order to make sure there wasn't something going on that needed to be fixed to be sure that I didn't fall again. It turned out it was probably my loose sandals that did it. And then the other thing that I was completely unprepared for and nobody told me about was the horrible emotional sequelae. The fear of falling was debilitating. I'm in my office and it's on the second floor, and I have to go up and down a staircase, which was almost impossible for me to do in the early phases of the injury because I kept visualizing myself tumbling down the stairs and crashing into the bottom and getting another fracture. This is not my unique experience. I early on before the challenge met a woman who had an identical experience, and we both were totally amazed at how similar the experiences were, both with the fact that we had these emotional sequelae and the fact that the healthcare system had let us down by failing to address it. And I want to let you know that these emotional issues are not just, oh, the poor lady, she doesn't feel good. It actually makes you unstable. It makes you unsure on your feet. It makes you not want to move. It makes you quit being the same active person that you were before the fall. So when I saw the invitation to the challenge, it came through the email, I knew I had to do something to help tell this story and hopefully develop a solution that could help other women who experienced the same thing that I did. So I want to thank you very much for giving me the backup that I needed in terms of having a prototype coach and another coach from the VA. And then I reached out into my community and was able to assemble a wonderful team of people. And I'm not going to mention all of them, but some of the most important were Catherine Johnson, who's a former CEO of the Health Forum, who's also just excellent at looking at concepts and giving feedback. Meg Crofton, who's the woman that I told you about, she's a high-powered executive, and the woman that I told you about that had a fragility fracture with the same kind of terrible emotional symptoms that I did. Ashita Jain, who was my prototyping coach, and Francesca Nicosia, who was the coach from the VA. So that was my team. But then I spent a lot of time trying to get in touch with people in a variety of ways, so I could understand their journeys. That meant that I sent out my idea in written form to people that I know all over the country. And I was surprised at how many people responded, including a man who really wanted me to know what happened to his mother and what the experience was as a caregiver of someone who had a fragility fracture. I also had conference calls with people. I had in-person meetings with people, and I had a lot of help from Catherine and Meg and a couple of serial entrepreneurs who were willing to go through the app with me and iterate over and over and over. I ended up doing 13 versions of the app and numerous versions of the write-up. So I want to thank my team members and all the people, all the other people who helped me to get this developed. Then finally, I want to talk about what I think is most important, is what was the problem I was trying to solve. I kind of told you while I told you these stories. The problem is that the healthcare system looks at a fracture as a fracture and not as a fracture journey. And part of the fracture journey is, sure, it's the fracture care, sure, it's the physical therapy, but it's also figuring out to the best of your ability why you fell so you can prevent it from happening again, and dealing with these terrible emotional sequelae. So I want to wrap up this video by telling you something extraordinary that happened today as I was sitting with Catherine Johnson in a cafe, and we were putting the finishing touches on the submission. And after we finished and we were ready to leave, we heard somebody fall and go to, we say in emergency medicine, go to ground. And it was a woman who had tripped, probably because her shoes weren't proper, at the entry of the restaurant. And I went over to provide care, as a former emergency physician would do. And as I talked to her, it became really clear that she probably had exactly the same kind of fracture that I did. She had terrible pain in her right shoulder. So she's at the beginning of her fracture journey. I don't know who her care providers are. I don't know if she'll get the kind of care that I got, but I sincerely hope that she does. But another interesting thing happened, that one of the other bystanders was a woman who said to us, boy, you know, I fell in exactly the same place 10 months ago, and I am still having so many symptoms. She said, I'm really mad about the care that I got. I was sent home from the ER. I wasn't given any information. They told me, you know, keep the sling on. So I kept the sling on for 10 days. I didn't even change my clothes for 10 days because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call, and I was just trying to follow their instructions. She was really mad when she found out she didn't have to do that, but she had no help. She also had terrible emotional sequelae. And one of the opening lines that she said to us is, I am terrified of falling again. I live on my own, and I just don't know what to do if I end up falling and I'm all by myself. So these are the stories that inspire me. These are the stories that made me want to put a lot of effort, and my team to put a lot of effort into creating the best idea we could to try and address these issues that are so common and so profound in women who have, and men who've experienced osteoporotic fractures. We like to say that what we've done is created a tool that will empower people with fragility fractures to take charge of their care, to take charge of their recovery, to take charge of their fracture journey, so that they can end up with the kind of outcome and the kind of course, getting the kind of help that they want to end up where they hope to be at the end of all of this. So that's my story. I hope you find it helpful. I really hope that you will go over and take a look at the longer video that I developed. I think it's even better than the written word, and helping you to understand what we've put together as our submission for the Healthy Bone Challenge. Thank you very much.